there, Photo Universe. All right, so I'm going to take Pentax USA marketing to school here. All right, because somebody, I mean, who's in charge over there? Who came up with this lens pricing? Right? I mean, okay, now we know where we're at with the lens pricing, and it's ridiculous. Seriously, I mean, you know, and I can prove that. I mean, who's in charge of the marketing at Pentax? Who's the president or the vice president or whoever's in charge that made this decision to price these lenses this way? If it came from Japan, you're off the hook. But I got news for you. The people in Japan don't have a clue what they're doing. Okay, maybe that's why Pentax has been, you know, I mean, back in the 60s, in the 1960s, Pentax was the brand. I remember growing up on Long Island, Stewart Avenue, Pentax had a 3 or 4 story building. That was the Pentax building. That, I mean, it was bigger than Nikon's office, and it was bigger than Canon's office. And that's because Pentax was the brand in the 60s. Nikon's still in Melville, Long Island, and Canon's in Lake Success. And look what happened. Nikon became the big film guys in the 80s and the 90s. And now in the early part of digital, Canon took the lead. I think they're still in the lead. Nikon's catching up a little bit. Good marketing is why. And what's happened to Pentax? Well, Pentax decided they didn't need the pro market, and they gave up on pros, but they didn't realize that amateurs want to shoot what pros shoot. And even if you lose money on your pro camera, if pros are shooting it, it sells your amateur cameras. But that's a whole, I mean, that concept is way too far advanced for Pentax marketing when you see what they just did with their lenses over the course of the past 6 months. So let's take Pentax USA marketing to school, because we really like the brand. We're not bashing them, but you guys couldn't screw this up any worse, okay? And what am I talking about? What am I just ranting here? What am I talking about? Here's the deal, okay? Marketing's very simple. Your company makes a product, and there's a consumer out there, and the consumer's got a wallet. Let's say that's a wallet. In his wallet, there's a bunch of cash, okay? And your job in marketing is to convince the consumer that they need to take their cash out of their wallet and give it to you, and you give them your product. It doesn't get any simpler than that, okay? So how do we convince a consumer to buy our product? Well, let's use the Pentax model, okay? Let's take a lens. Let's say this is the 16-50 2.8 SDM. Let's take the 16-50 2.8 SDM that's been selling for $799 everywhere forever. And we're going to convince the consumer that they need to buy that lens by doubling the price. Let's make it $1,400. That should convince them. It convinced the cat. Thank you, buddy. We'll see you later. Okay. That was Photo Cat. Wanted to get in on the action. So how do we convince the consumer to part with their cash? Well, what we do is we double the price effectively. I mean, it's a 90% price increase from $800 to $1,400, $1,500. Okay. Anybody spot the flaw in that logic? Okay, but you say to yourself, well, you say, all right, let's give Pentax some defense. The 16-50 was way underpriced because it's a much better lens than that. That's not true, right? That's not true. The 16-50 2.8 has SD. I mean, even if the Pentax swears up and down there's no problem with SDM. Statistically, the SDM lenses don't fail. As a matter of fact, they fail less than the screw drive lenses. Yeah, but the public, the people with the money that you're trying to get their cash from, perceive. It's a perception issue. They perceive your lens sucks. Even if it doesn't, even if statistically you can prove that it doesn't, if Pentax can prove that it doesn't, if the public perceives it, then it's true. Then they're not going to give you their cash. You might be correct, and you're going to be 100% correct, headed to bankruptcy court. It's not working. What's the goal? Is the goal to prove to stand by your guns and prove statistically that the SDM doesn't have any failure? Or is your goal, who cares whether SDM fails or not? Your goal is to get as many of these boxes in the hands of the people with the cash and have them give you the cash for these boxes. That's how you succeed. You don't have to go to Harvard Business School to know that. Okay? Let's get back to the 16 to 50. So obviously that Pentax strategy is garbage. That's ridiculous. Let's double the price on a product that people aren't even too sure about to begin with. That's genius. Not. What could have Pentax done that might have made more sense? Okay, one thing they could have done is they could have said to themselves, you know what? We do have a perception problem, even though statistically our SDM lenses are fine. Maybe. We have a perception problem. And right now that perception problem is a wall between the cash and selling the product to the consumer. So we want to raise the price because of our new unilateral minimum advertised pricing policy, whatever. We don't want to give these away anymore. So what we're going to do is, okay, one of the things we could do, let's raise the price slowly. Let's not go 90% price increase overnight, okay, which is freaking people out, which there's no way somebody's going to spend $1,500 for a lens they could have bought 6 months ago for $799. It's the same lens. That's insane. But let's incrementally bring it up. Let's run the price. Let's have our minimum advertised price at $999, and let's give them a $200 rebate for right now. Okay. So we raised the price to $999. It's $1,000 for the lens, 16 to 52.8 we're talking about. And for the next 6 months to the end of the year, we're going to go $200 rebate. Okay, so that's $800. That's $800, $799. So you didn't really raise the price, but now you've transitioned over to minimum advertised pricing. And what does the guy with the wallet say? He says, well, this minimum advertised pricing, yeah, they're doing it differently, but I can still get the lens for $799. That's not bad. January 1st, the price goes to $999, and that's the ball game. Okay, so we incrementally moved it up then, and the guy with the money isn't freaking out. Okay, that's a possibility. Or if you guys really had your act together and wanted to be like Canon, who, whether their cameras suck or not, they know how to market. That's why they have so much market share. You don't raise the price at all on the 16 to 50. The 16 to 50 is a tarnished product. It's got a perception of bad SDM. What you do is, even optically it's a fine lens. What you do is, you do what Canon did with their 24 to 70, right? There was nothing wrong with the original 24 to 70 Mark I. It was about $1,400, right? What did Canon do? Did Canon double the price to $2,300? No! They came out with the 24 to 70 Mark II. It's in the Canon's case, it is a big change. It's marginally sharper. It's mechanically more robust. But it's a Mark II, and guess what? The Mark II is $2,300. Now, what's Joe Consumer saying? Joe Consumer is saying, well, man, I'm not really happy about the price increase. That lens just went up $1,000. But you know what? Mechanically, it's better. Optically, it's better. Even if they're minor improvements, it's justifiable. There's a perception of, well, that's okay. That's not too bad. That's all right. It's a Mark II lens. It's a better lens. It's more money. Prices are going up. I accept that. Okay, now that's marketing. That's how you do it. Okay. Another thing you could do. You can double the price. Strategy 3 for Pentax. Okay. Raise the price to $1,500. I got no problem with that. But what is the main thing keeping me from, Joe Consumer from spending his cash on that lens? Well, now it's double the price and nothing's changed. It's the same lens I used to be able to get for $799. but I really need it and I really like it and I like the weather sealing and all that, man, I could spend that money. Maybe oh, wait a minute, there's SDM problems with that lens, and Pentax just quotes statistics. Obviously they don't care. So you know what you do, Pentax? You double the price, make it $1,500, and when you double the price, put out a notice publicly, a press release saying, we don't acknowledge that there's any SDM problems, but we are aware that there's a perception that there might be. So you know what? If a 16 to 50 millimeter or any SDM lens, let's just go with 16 to 50, if any SDM lens fails for the lifetime of the lens, if the drive unit fails, we'll guarantee it. Perception problem's done. You know what? Not everybody, but a lot of people would be like, well, now wait a minute. Okay, optically it's a good lens, but I don't want to spend $1,500 on a lens that a year from now I have to spend $300 to get it fixed because maybe the SDM is going to break, so I'm not going to buy that lens. I'm going to buy the Sigma or the Tamron. See, that's the fly in the ointment, isn't it? Okay, Sigma makes a fine lens. Optically, some reviews say the Sigma is sharper. Tamron makes a fine lens in the 17 to 50 range. So Pentax, you're not in a vacuum. You know, it's very simple. There's no Pentax, you don't have a monopoly. You know, it's not like gasoline in the United States where you can only buy, you know, gasoline from a few people. Pentax, you know, there's choices. So you raise your price to $1,500. Guess what? Nobody's buying your lenses anymore. They're going to go buy Sigmas or they're going to buy Tamrons. There's issues there, but you know what? For the price, it's worth dealing with. And why would there's issues with the Pentax lens. Why would I spend $1,500 and worry about having to get it repaired? So take away my worry and then maybe you can double the price. You can take away my worry by coming out with a Mark II in the lens and saying, well, we significantly redesigned the SDM. Maybe if you're going to charge those kind of prices, maybe you could put a ring drive ultrasonic in it, like Canon. I mean, you know, $1,500 seems like a lot of money for a micromotor SDM drive. I'm just saying. Okay, $799. Guess what? The Tamron, the Sigma is $650. The Tamron's $425. At $799, a lot of people were going for that 16 to 50, even with the SDM problems. I mean, if Pentax wanted to hit it out of the park and actually sell those lenses, do what I said. Raise the price to $999. $200 rebate for as long as you want. Right now, would I buy a 16 to 50 Pentax for $1,500 with SDM perception problems? No way, and that's me, Joe Consumer. I would be surprised if Pentax has sold 2 of those lenses in the past 6 months at $1,500. I'd be surprised in the whole of the United States. And if they did, I feel sorry for those people who bought them, because those people got ripped off. It's ridiculous. Okay. Right now, I'd look at the Sigma or the Tamron. If I were an amateur, keen amateur, I don't mean that. You know, amateurs do the best work because they have the freedom. I don't mean that derogatorily. If I were an amateur, I'd pick up the Tamron, and if I were a professional, I'd pick up the Sigma. And that's what I do. Okay, that's where it's at. And I wouldn't buy the Pentax lens. Do I like the Pentax lens? Do I like the weather sealing? Absolutely. But you know what? I can submerge a Sigma in the ocean and buy another one. And I still haven't spent as much money as buying the Pentax. 2 Sigmas without weather sealing is better than 1 Pentax with. That's what I'm on about. So the people at Pentax Marketing who are making $100,000 a year or $50,000 a year or $10 a year or whatever, look, I apologize if Japan dictated this nonsense and you guys had to do it and you had no say in it. Well, in that case, it's not your fault. And you know what? Pentax deserves to go out of business if they're that stupid in Japan. Okay, because Canon isn't that stupid, and I'm sure Canon in Japan has a lot to say with what Canon in the United States does. And Canon marketing is, look to Canon. They know what they're doing. So I don't know what Rico's doing. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know who. Somewhere in some office, there's somebody making a lot of money who just basically figured out how to get Pentax to not sell any lenses. Well, you know what? I can volunteer for free to direct Pentax marketing, I'd be happy to do it. And I guarantee a year from now you'll be selling a heck of a lot more product than whatever these people who made these decisions are doing. And I don't know anything about marketing. But I know this, it can't get any worse than that. You know, double the price. That's the way we sell. Are you kidding me? All right, you guys know what I'm thinking. So, and I'm sure I'm not the only person thinking this. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are going, man, I'd really like to buy a 16 to 50 or a 50 to 135. But how can I buy the camera? How can I buy into this system? Why am I screwing around with this K5 or K5 II or K5 IIs when, I mean, you know, I can go buy a Canon 5D Mark II right now for $2,500 with a 24 to 105 f4 ring type L series weather sealed ring ultrasonic drive. Really, you know, seriously. Yeah, and I love the K5, and I got a K5 2S on order. As soon as it comes in, I'm gonna test it against the, you know, but geez, you know, guys, I mean, don't act like you're Nikon and Canon, and don't charge Nikon and Canon prices if you don't have the lineup, if you don't have the infrastructure. I mean, Pentax has to compete on price, unfortunately. The camera's brilliant, the lens line is spotty. There's a few places where it really, like Tom Hogan was saying the other day on his blog, buytom.com. You know, Pentax embraced the APS with those primes. Oh yeah, the limited primes, brilliant. Canon, Nikon didn't do that. But then again, Pentax, where's your 70 to 200 2.8? You know, the 50 to 135, yeah, I get that, but you know, people love putting the 70 to 200 2.8 on their APS, on their 7D, or their D300, or their D7000. A 100 to 300 2.8 is brilliant. Just so this is pick on Pentax Day. That's what this is. All right, thanks for watching Photo Universe. I know you guys are thinking a lot of this, and I hope somebody at Pentax USA sees this and change. I mean, you know, we'll know if a couple of months from now, by Christmas time, the 16 to 45, the 16 to 50 2.8 SDM is $1,000 with a $200 rebate. Right, instant rebate. Then we'll know somebody was watching this. Pentax, give me a call. I'm Pentax Photo Professional. You guys got my number. If you want some help and some advice, give me a call. I'll be happy to talk to you. I do this because I love Pentax, right? Not because I hate them. I hope you guys get that. All right, Ed with Photo Universe. Thanks a lot. Have a great one. Thanks for listening. Bye.